So we've worked on week 1 and week 2, which were the fundamentals and also takeaway into the backswing. Let's see how now we can deliver that club into an impact position. So there's a couple of things that we're going to talk a little bit about today. So is the movement of the torso and how that wants to work during a chip shot. We're also going to focus a little bit on the right amount of shaft lean that creates a chip shot and what over leaning or under leaning can produce. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the dynamics in which the club comes down, really controlling what we call arc depth, and how sometimes a heavy contact could be perceived wrong, and what the issues could be with more heavy contacts. We've all had issues around the green where we suffer with contact issues. So that could be a thin contact where the ball is struck at the top half of the equator of the ball with the leading edge of the club, or it could be that the club has worked too far into the ground and hit the ground too early. Well, the issue with that is we always assume that we have what we call a low point issue, where the club is working forward and back along the turf. When the club's struck at the bottom of the arc, it'll have its lowest point in the swing's arc. The concern here is that when we misdiagnose a steep, let's say, attack angle or a steep low point, that we don't associate it with where the club is travelling up and down vertically. So what we actually want to see is when the club is coming down into the ground, like so, and it's coming down into the ball, that swing arc will actually start to flatten at the bottom. So it's not looking almost like a V shape where it will come in quite steep, let's say, or vertical and exits vertical. What we're looking for is the club to come down, stretches out at the bottom of the swing arc, and now we're in a position of delivery. So it's almost like the bottom of the club is working along the ground. From this position here, what we actually want to see is that the handle starts to rise up and away from the ground. So if I do this from down the line profile, we're going to look very much like a up, down, but then it's starting to bottom out here, and then the handle will start to work up and away from the ground, which then shifts the arc depth and the low point up and away. Okay, so just bearing that in mind when it comes to contact and impact, we want an element of shaft lean, we want an element of torso rotation, and just remember that your heavy contacts might not actually be where the club is at its lowest point. It could be that the club has just worked up or down too much too soon. So what we're going to focus on to start with is from the backswing position, how we can turn that torso to deliver the right amount of shaft lean. So when we take the club back, obviously spoke a little bit about the right arm folding, spoke a little bit about the left arm being in the correct position and how we manage the club face. So what we're going to do now is we're going to deliver that club into an impact position. As the club starts to work down into an impact position, the torso, so from here to here, will actually want to start opening up. What we're looking for at an impact position is around about 20 degrees of torso opening. The common misconception of that is when people try and turn the torso, they start to move their hips as well. What will tend to happen here is that as we start to twist and turn, what will happen is that the club will start to come out over the top a little bit, and what will happen then is that our contacts may potentially go a little bit towards the heel of the club face. So what we're looking for, like I said, is to kind of keep the hips in a relatively square position, but then deliver the club with a slight opening of the body. A good drill for that is get yourself into your backswing position, But then from there, can you get the club head back down to the ground just by moving the torso into a turning position or rotational position, like so. So as you can see there, my left shoulder now is behind, my right shoulder's in front, and I am now in a position where my torso is opened that perfect 20 degrees. So from down the line, this looks like this.